Welcome to Conversation English Beginners. Here, you can learn English in a fun and easy way. Listen to our stories and practice speaking with simple dialogues. Don't forget to subscribe for more easy lessons. It's just for you. Are you ready? Let's start. A long time ago, there was a small village. The village was very quiet. Around the village, there were green hills. There were also tall trees. In this village, there lived a girl. Her name was Sophie. Sophie was 11 years old. She had big brown eyes. She had long, wavy hair. Sophie was a curious girl. Curious means she liked to see new things. She liked to learn new things. Sophie lived with her mother and father. They lived in an old house. The house was at the edge of the village. The house was very big. It had many, many rooms. The house was very old. Sophie's family lived in this house for a long, long time. Her grandmother lived here. Her grandmother's mother lived here, too. Every room in the house had a story. Sophie knew most of the stories. She explored most of the rooms. She looked in every corner. She looked in every closet. But there was one room. Sophie did not see this room before. She did not know this room. Every morning, Sophie woke up first. She loved the morning. She loved to walk in the house when it was quiet. She loved to explore her home. But this morning was different. This morning was special. One morning, the sun was bright. The sun came through the window. The sun came through the curtains in Sophie's room. Sophie opened her eyes. She decided to explore the house again. She walked out of her room. She walked into the long hallway. The floor was old wood. The floor made a sound. Creak, creak, creak. Sophie walked and walked. She looked at the walls. She looked at the pictures on the walls. Then, she saw something. Her eyes opened wide. What was that? At the end of the hallway, there was a door. It was a small door. Sophie never saw this door before. Never. The door was behind a big painting. The painting was of a big, old tree. The painting was always there. Sophie saw this painting every day. But the door was new. It was like the door came at night. It was like magic. Sophie's heart beat fast. Boom, boom, boom in her chest. Is this a secret door? Sophie thought. She remembered stories. Her grandmother told her stories. Stories about secret rooms in the old house. Stories about hidden places. Sophie thought the stories were just stories. She did not think they were true. But now, here was a door. Her hands shook a little. She was nervous. But she was also excited. She walked to the door. Creak, creak, creak went the floor. She moved the big painting. It was heavy. She moved it to the side. And there it was. The mysterious door. The door was made of dark wood. On the door, there were pictures. The pictures were carved into the wood. She saw pictures of forests. She saw pictures of big mountains. She saw pictures of rivers. The rivers looked shiny. The door looked very, very old. It looked 100 years old. Maybe 200 years old. The door had a doorknob. The doorknob was not round. It was shaped like a head. The head of a lion. Sophie put her hand on the lion's head. She turned the doorknob. The door made a sound. Creak. The door opened slowly. Behind the door, there was a room. The room was not bright. It was dim. It was a little dark. Sophie breathed in. She took a big breath. Then, she stepped into the room. The room was small. The walls were made of stone. The ceiling was low. The air in the room smelled old. It smelled like dust. It smelled like old books. Sophie looked around the room. Her eyes moved from left to right. Then, she saw something strange. On one wall, there was a mirror. It was a big mirror. The mirror was very dusty. Under the mirror, there was a chest. It was a wooden chest. The chest was very old. It had spider webs on it. Cobwebs. Sophie walked to the chest. She felt nervous. But she also felt excited. The chest was closed. It had a lock. The lock was not a normal lock. The lock was a special shape. It was the shape of the moon. A crescent moon. Sophie really wanted to open the chest. Her curiosity was very strong now. She needed a key. She looked around the room. She looked for a key. Where was the key? Then, she saw something. In the corner of the room, there was a small table. It was a wooden table. On the table, there was a key. Sophie walked to the table. She picked up the key. The key was small. It was silver. It was a pretty key. It felt important in her hand. She walked back to the chest. She put the key in the lock. The key fit. She turned the key. Click. It was a soft sound. The chest was open. Sophie opened the top of the chest. Inside, she saw many old things. There were letters. The letters were old. The paper was yellow. The letters had ribbons. The ribbons tied the letters together. There were photographs. The photographs were old, too. The colors were not bright. They were faded. The people in the photographs were strangers. Sophie did not know them. There was also a book. It was a big, thick book. The cover of the book was leather. On the cover, there was writing in gold. But Sophie could not read the writing. It was a different language. She picked up the book. It was heavy. She opened the book. The pages were thin and old. She turned the pages carefully. On the pages, she saw strange symbols. She saw drawings. The drawings were of magical things. She saw fairies. She saw dragons. She saw animals. The animals looked like they could talk. Sophie loved the book. It was fascinating. She put the book down. She looked around the room again. Were there more surprises? Yes. There was more. On the far wall, behind the big mirror, there was another door. This door was very hidden. Sophie almost did not see it. The door was covered with ivy. Ivy is a plant with green leaves. The ivy grew on the stone wall. It was like a green curtain. Sophie moved the ivy leaves to the side. There was the door. This door had a lock, too. This lock was a different shape. It was the shape of a star. Sophie had the silver key. Would it open this door, too? She was very excited. She put the key in the star lock. She turned the key. The door opened. Sophie looked into the next room. But it was not a room. It was a garden. A beautiful garden. But this was not a normal garden. It was a magical garden. The sky in the garden was not blue. It was purple. The flowers in the garden were bright. They glowed. They were blue, pink, and gold. There were trees. The leaves on the trees were silver. The air smelled sweet. It smelled like honey. It smelled like lavender. Sophie stepped into the garden. The ground was soft. It was covered with moss. Her feet sank down a little. In the middle of the garden, there was a fountain. It was a water fountain. But it was not a normal fountain. The water in the fountain sparkled. It shone like stars. It was beautiful. Around the fountain, there were small creatures. They were fairies. The fairies had wings. Their wings shimmered like glass. The fairies were dancing. They were twirling. They were giggling. Sophie watched. Her mouth was open. She was in awe. This place was magical. It was extraordinary. Sophie walked in the garden. She saw a small path. The path was made of stone. She followed the path. The path went to a tree. This tree was special. On the tree, there were apples. But the apples were not red or green. They were golden. They were golden apples. Sophie walked to the tree carefully. She felt wonder. She reached out her hand. She wanted to touch a golden apple. Then, she heard a voice. A soft voice. The voice whispered in her ear. "Welcome, Sophie." Sophie turned her head. Who said that? She saw no one. "You found the secret room," the voice said. "This is a place of magic. This is a place of adventure. The room you found has a key. The key can open many worlds. This place is for people who look for answers. You are a good person. You can be here." Sophie looked all around. Where was the voice? It was everywhere. It was nowhere. She did not know the voice. But she was not scared. She felt peaceful. She felt calm. "You can explore this world," the voice continued. "You can explore other worlds, too. But remember, Sophie, not all people can see magic. This secret room is for people with a brave heart. It is for people with an open mind. Do not forget your key. The key will help you. It will guide you to new adventures. But be careful. Some secrets must stay secrets." Sophie understood. It was important. She nodded her head. She found a magical place. This place will change her life forever. But magic is a big thing. With magic comes responsibility. You must be good. You must be careful. Sophie took a deep breath. She stepped back from the tree. She looked at the garden one more time. It was so beautiful. She knew something good. She could come back. She could come back to this garden any time. The secret room will always be there. It will wait for her. Sophie turned around. It was time to go. She walked back to the door. Her adventure was not finished. It was only the beginning. She went through the door. She was back in the small, stone room. She closed the garden door. She closed the chest. She took the silver key. She held it tight in her hand. Then, she walked out of the secret room. She closed the big, wooden door. She moved the painting back. The door was hidden again. Sophie stood in the hallway. Her heart was full of wonder. She was very excited. She found a big secret. No one else knew about it. Only Sophie. She could not wait. She could not wait for the next day. She wanted to explore more. She wanted to see more mysteries. The secret room was waiting, and Sophie was ready. Thank you for listening to this story. Thank you for listening about Sophie and her secret room. I hope you liked it. If you want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe. Click the subscribe button. When you subscribe, you can hear the next story. You can hear about Sophie's next adventure. Thank you very much. Goodbye.